Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Manic Monday. It's Monday, the 20th of August, 2018. I'm Ducky and I'm here to ramble about miniatures. And I have this week finished a grand total of 6 minis. It's the Pirates of the Dragonspine C2 boxed set, and I painted them up even more colorfully than the last set, I think. So here in the middle we have a sort of elf with a saber and a pistol, and we have the halfling cook, I suppose he is. Not only the cook because he has an eye patch, so at some point he saw some combat, but he's very well dressed for a cook. We have the half-orc fighter with, We have the harpooner. Showing some tummy. I mean, he's not usually painted as that. Most in the Reaper paint job, they paint that as sort of skin tight shirt, stretch across. But his abs are so clearly sculpted. I mean that would have to be, even spandex wouldn't show his muscles that clearly. So obviously it has to be bare skin. We have a dwarf who is for some reason wearing a turban. He's very well equipped with a big blunderbuss and a rather brutal chopper. And finally, see, I can't fit it all in one shot. Maybe we have Pirate Sophie. So she is standing on a treasure chest. She has a parrot. And we have her wings. So I did get, it seems I got a sizable amount of stuff work done this week anyway, despite my prediction that I wouldn't. That's because work was relatively light the first week starting out. It's going to be worse this week. Things are gearing up for real now. So I'm going to show you some works in progress, but before that I actually filmed some clips because I was asked in the comments about that new paint I bought from Moar Colors. So I've been trying it out, and take what's to come here with a grain of salt, because it's my first attempt at using these paints. I'm sure I might be making a mistake of some sort, not understanding something, but it's a first impressions. It's not a review. It's just a first look at them. So take from it what you will. So I'm not sure when or where I will be inserting this little clip, but I was asked to give my opinion on the Moar Colors because they're new to me and to a lot of people. So I thought I would show off a little bit of it, of my experience of them. Now this is just from a few days of experimenting with them, so I might change my opinion further on, but for now, take it for what it is. To begin with, the bottles. I love these. These are probably the best bottles in the business. I prefer, of course, these dropper bottles over pots. I've mentioned this before, I think, but in case you need reminding, the problem with pots is that, for example, this old style of pot, the lid will break like they've done on this one, and they won't seal properly because they'll be collecting paint here. And of course, the Citadel style are the absolute worst. These are crap. Now this particular bottle is better than most, but no matter how you work it, you're gonna get the dried paint back here. Now, yeah, like you get this big deposit, and that prevents you from closing the lid, and it means the paint dries out. Also, they're hideously expensive. They cost much more than the dropper bottles, and they contain less. They contain 12 milliliters as opposed to 17 in a Vallejo bottle, and for a high price. But anyway, most dropper bottles have their issues. For example, Vallejo has the issue that for some reason, I'm not sure if it's the bottle construction or the combination of that and the paint. Oh, so now I've got some Citadel paint on my finger here. I'm gonna try to wipe that off. But they often get too high a pressure inside the bottle, and that can lead to spillage. For example, it often leaks out even while it's sitting here with this top screwed on, and runs down and it collects here and creates a sort of a cake around the nozzle, and which can dry, and you can get dried paint inside the tip, which you have to sort of get out the pin or something, and it's a whole thing. It's a lot of work and hassle, and each manufacturer has their own issues. For example, Reaper, they don't have the issue with the pressure, possibly because the paint's thinner, and they don't spill over that much, but they do dry inside the nozzle very easily, and then that needs to be cleared quite often. Oh, and don't get me started on Secret Weapon. These washes, they're really good, but the bottles are some of the worst in the business. I don't know, they seem exactly like the Vallejo bottles, but for some reason there's always so much overspill here, and you can see how it looks inside the cap. This is not good. Now, I'm talking about all these other manufacturers, but I want to get back to watercolors. Now, to begin with, you can't open it like this. It's a childproof cap. You have to push down and twist, get it open. And then you can see that even if I've used this bottle a little bit, there's no spill. And if you look inside, it's just the little nub that goes right inside the tip that has some paint on it. And if I'm gonna, let's tilt this, let's move this so you can see. I'm gonna try to squeeze out some paint, and you can't really tell this, but the new bottles, especially from watercolor, are extremely hard. I have to press like really hard to get something to come out, and you get a little drop like that, and you see it's clean, nothing spills. This is amazing. Let me just put the bottle on again. Now, again, if you look at this drop that's sitting among a lot of old paint on my wet palette, and of course you can't really make an honest comparison because these have been sitting for a while and they've absorbed a lot of more water. But if I try to draw this out, it doesn't quite behave like other paint. It's kind of viscous. It's described as having a gel medium. I'm not a chemist. I don't exactly know what that means, but it has a slightly different consistency to. Well, let me get a fresh. Okay, now I've dropped a drop of Vallejo model color Camel Black Brown, and by the way, I might show you what this looks like after very little use. See, a lot of spillage really, really horrible. Now let's if you see this, the Vallejo is kind of, this is what I'm used to, this consistency. It's kind of smooth, whereas the watercolors is kind of more gloppy. Look, it's more like a goop, and when you paint with it, it seems kind of translucent. Whereas with this, I'm not sure how well it's come across on the picture here, but there's a different sort of brush feel to it, and I'm not sure yet. I'm going to have to experiment a little more, because if I just thin this with water, it becomes like a glaze. Now this suddenly this looks like any other acrylic paint. Looks like Vallejo if I thin a bit of Vallejo as much as this. Oops, it's a bit too much water. Actually, the watercolor behaves better because it's still more collected. It doesn't disintegrate quite as easily. So I think the thing to do with watercolors is to thin them quite a lot, and maybe I should use medium. Maybe I should use thinner medium instead of water. That could help. Okay, this is way too much. This is a really big drop of thinner medium here. So if I grab some of this, yeah, it's gonna just take a little bit of this and thin that out. Yeah, that looks really workable and nice. As compared to this. What I can say is that this is supposed to be, it has 3 bars of opaqueness. It's the most opaque watercolor, they claim, but it's not really that opaque. I mean, if you compare it to the Vallejo, I mean, if we take a mini here, for example, and if I just have this very thinned out Vallejo and I just lay a stroke down here, okay, that's that doesn't help very much. I should let me get some more drops that are not as thinned. Okay, here we have another work in progress. Okay, so we'll take the Vallejo basically unthinned and we'll lay a stroke like that. This covers really well. Yeah, I mean, it'll be now I'm adding more water, which dilutes it, but so you can see. But if I do the same thing with the watercolors, it doesn't have the coverage, even in its unthinned form, and it gets really streaky because of the gel consistency. It really needs to be thinned to basically a glaze. So yeah, I'm gonna have to play around with this some more. I can't draw any conclusions from just this little playing around with it. And they do have, Watercolors has a specific range of paints called, I think they're called one coat, which are supposed to be even more opaque. They're supposed to be base coats that really have good coverage. But these are layer paints. These are paints for painting in thin layers or glazes. That's my initial impression of them. But as I said, I absolutely love the construction of the bottles and the way they don't waste paint and they don't cause a mess. Remains to be seen if this really hard bottle, if that's going to make it difficult to get the everything out of the bottle. If it's going to be really hard to get the last few drops out. Not sure. We'll just have to see. It's going to take a few years before I get that far, probably. But anyway, I hope that was semi-useful to someone. I have no idea. Let's get back to the actual minis. Yeah, so back to the miniatures that are on my table. Mostly these monsters. There's the Dark Sword minis, but those, not much has happened there, so no point in showing them off again. Let's just look first at the ones that I've been working on the longest, the Troll and the Ogre. A little bit more work, not a whole lot. The thing is, with these big monsters that have so much surface to cover, I can kind of fall into a sort of decision paralysis where I don't quite know where to start. And the solution I've found is usually to just turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream, to quote the Beatles. Just kind of start doodling randomly, just splashing some colors on there and seeing what happens, whether I like, what looks good. And often I will do stuff that doesn't work and that I have to paint over again, but I paint very thin coats of paint, so that's usually not a problem. But anyway, I think I sort of have a direction for the Ogre. I mean, the Ogre is, at least he has clearly defined different areas. You can see where some wash is spilled there. I don't want to get that out. Anyway, that ink shouldn't really be there. Yeah, anyway, where was I? Okay, so the Ogre, I think, I have an idea. For the Troll is kind of monotone. I mean, yeah, I can do the basic skin tone, this green that I'm working on now, and then I probably want to do something different for the plates, because he has bony plating. Yeah, I'll have to think some more about what to do with that. Oh, and by the way, you can see this little green willy here. These sculptors, they're so they like their little jokes. Anyway, I as you can perhaps notice, this wash is not fully dried, and I want to move it around a little bit while it's still wet. It's pooled up in a few places, and I want to spread out from those places so it doesn't leave like a huge... Yeah, this is why I should have used a paint wash instead of a shade wash, but oh well. Anyway, never mind. Work continues. And anyway, the Behirs. Now here you can clearly see the size difference between this is the Reaper Bones and this is the Gale Force 9. Even considering that this one is climbing a big rock, they're still... Yeah, it's a huge size difference. Anyway, what I've done since last time, I believe, is just spray down this blue tone with the airbrush. Again, the only art direction we really have for the Behir as a monster, as a creature, comes from D&D, because it was invented for D&D, and it's blue. But I don't want to paint it all the same tone of blue. I want to find some different varieties of blue. For example, again here, the smaller scales could be one sort of blue, and these bigger, bonier plates could be something else, and these horns or spikes could be a third color. All sort of in the blue end of the spectrum, I think. I think I want to go monochromatic in the sense that I'm not gonna go for contrasting colors. I don't think. Or maybe I will. We'll see. Again, this is all very much in progress and undecided as of yet. Anyway, let's keep moving. And here's that third batch of pirates, primed, assembled, ready to go. And yeah, why this is going to be the last thing I show you today, because there are no new arrivals, and I don't want to add anything more to the queue right now. I don't want to prep anything more because I don't think it's going to be needed for the upcoming week. A few things to note here. I did mention that I painted a few of these in bones before. I mentioned these two. An interesting difference is that this, in metal, this comes with an option of two left hands, one with a sword and one with a pistol. Now, the bones version has no option, it only has the sword, so I decided to go with a pistol this time for the metal version. That, you know, get some variety into it, so they're not identical twin sisters. I also realized I already had this guy in bones. However, there's a big difference. The bones version doesn't have a chicken. It's carrying a pistol in his left hand. This is more of a... he's called Gruff Grime Cleaver the Cook, I believe. He doesn't look as much like a cook in the bones version. But yeah, no difficulties in assembling these, and the painting will probably proceed as per usual. Don't foresee any difficulties with any of these. But again, this upcoming week is very, very busy. It's not just work, it's also that I'm booked with other activities in the evenings most days. So yeah, we'll have to see about the painting. But in any case, I will be here with another video for you a week from now. Regardless of how much or little I get done, I will show up and show you. So, to begin with, you can click like on this video, subscribe, comment, do all that usual YouTube stuff. And I'll see you in a week. Till then, I'm Dakian, signing off.